started my career locally with Lake Sumter EMS and did that for a number of years. Went on to become a firefighter for the village's public safety department. I was one of the first 9 firefighters hired there.
Wow.
And so I started that, and, I was part of that evolution, and, became a police officer in the city of Leesburg, worked for a few years here doing that. And then I went to Sumter County in 2011. And
So you have been part of the police department and the fire department. What made the switch?
so it's a very comical story.
Welcome to the Style Podcast, presented by Plaza Cadillac and Plaza Lincoln, where our drive to be the best starts with you.
Welcome to the Style Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Sanders. First, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Plaza Cadillac, Plaza Lincoln, Eustis Roofing, and Disability Consultants. The Style Person of Interest podcast is where we sit down with the leaders and the impact makers that are bringing our communities across Lake and Sumter County to success. Today, I am here with somebody who has a huge impact across Sumter County, Stephen Kennedy. He is the Assistant Administrator for Sumter County. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks. Well, today we're going to start with, at first, a little bit about yourself. So you have more than 3 decades of experience in emergency management, law enforcement, community operations. I don't feel like the position that you currently have is something you just stumble upon. How did you get here?
So, no, I would definitely say if I looked back at the beginning, I would not see myself as the assistant county administrator with the roles that I have. So I would definitely say it was not anticipated or planned as a path.
Like most things.
Correct. But one thing that was early on in my youth, recognized by my mom and just known as a kid, was that I always wanted to be in public safety. I had a vision, like many kids, of growing up to be a firefighter one day, and that was my aspiration. And as I got older, I became a volunteer firefighter. I grew up in the Northeast. And at some point, I was at my grandmother's house. I was about 15, 16 years old, and she had a stroke. And I didn't know what to do. And that experience was very, very challenging in the sense of I sat back and the sense of not being able to do anything, to be able to provide support, of just not even knowing who to call, was just really sort of enlightening as to I don't want to ever feel that way again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I then took on, I started volunteering as a firefighter. I wanted to become more engaged in the medical aspect of it. I went on to get my first responder certifications. I became an emergency medical technician, graduated high school, went on, became a paramedic, and started my early careers volunteering and working for a career ambulance service up in Northeast in the New York area. And at about 20, 21 years old, I decided I wanted to move to Florida. And I wanted to come here and have a career, and so I moved.
Was it for the weather?
Well, that was part of it.
Okay.
That was definitely part of it. So I moved to Lake County, lived in the Claremont area, and started my career locally with Lake Sumter EMS, and did that for a number of years. Went on to become a firefighter for the village's public safety department. I was one of the first 9 firefighters hired there.
Wow.
And so I started that, and, I was part of that evolution, and, became a police officer in the city of Leesburg, worked for a few years here doing that. And then I went to Sumter County in 2011, and that was a big change because I moved there as the deputy chief of administration for the fire department. And it really was getting closer to what I aspired to be. I wanted to be a fire chief one day. And I was so much closer and was having a great time doing that. But I also am a bit of a I would say, a hobbyist in technology.
Okay.
So I have a passion for it. I don't like things that don't work. And so when somebody says you can't do something and it's tech related, I want to figure out how. So I did that. And next thing I knew, somebody above me recognized that I had some talent there and helped guide me and mentor me to where I had an opportunity to move on and become the assistant county administrator. And part of that was I got placed into overseeing 911. So that was the first evolution of technology. Like I had the radio system when I moved to the county in 2011, I was handed the public safety radio system, which was implemented in 2012. And that technical exposure really sort of blossomed into giving me the opportunity to leverage that going forward. And now I oversee all technology in Sumter County, including public safety.
Very cool. So you kind of have been everywhere in your career. You have kind of taken many different steps in your career. How do you think those roles that you have had and the hands-on experience have impacted the way you make decisions for the county?
So I would say that out of all of those roles that have occurred, the grounding force has always been about service to others and community service. That's been just my internal passion. It's kind of been my guiding compass of where to go, when to make decisions. And a big part of that is that I feel I have a good sense of understanding that what the true operational needs are, so that when folks are working in the field in a public safety element, I understand what their needs are, and I can better serve them by making sure that we deliver the technology that supports them, and understanding where they come from. And that's a big challenge, because oftentimes if they don't have the right tools, it makes their jobs that much harder. And at the end of the day, it's the customer, being our end customer, being the citizen, that doesn't get the right delivery of service that they need.
Absolutely. And for those who don't know what your role is as the assistant county administrator for Sumter County, what does your day-to-day look like?
So it varies from day to day.
Of course, I kind of figured
Right?
that.
So it's kind of like all duties as assigned, but I do have technical divisions that report, I have divisions that technically report to me. So currently I have Animal Services, the Emergency Communications Center, all of the public safety technology I talked about earlier, as well as the general county technology. Emergency management is another division. But through the time I've been in my role, I've had the opportunity to oversee mosquito control, fleet, transit, and a host of others. And as those opportunities come, sometimes they are transitioned into another contract where we just contract that service out. Sometimes, because I'm needed elsewhere, those responsibilities are handed to another one of our team members, and I take on something new and different. So most of my day-to-day, though, has really been about just identifying how we can standardize and move our technology forward, since we've done quite a bit of upgrading over the last couple of years to get us where we need to be.
Very nice. Do you like being behind the scenes? Because I know that not a lot of people think that they need your services until they absolutely need it, like 911. That's a huge one that you don't want to need, but you sometimes do. So do you like being behind the scenes?
I don't know if it's a question about if I like being behind the scenes. I think it's more about I love what I do to be sure that I deliver that service and that comfort. I think people don't realize, if they don't have 911, I don't think they realize what an impact that is.
Absolutely, I could see that.
There have been a couple of incidents over the last couple of years where there have been impacts to 911 services throughout Central Florida, as well as just nationwide. I mean, those things occur, and that's part of the hardening that we've been doing to improve service delivery. That's where I look at it and go, to be honest with you, I prefer people not even know how it works, or, per se. I just want them to have the confidence that when they pick up the phone and dial 911, it does work. That's my goal.
Yeah, and community trust is such a huge thing in your role. I could see that for sure. So how do you maintain the confidence in the community?
So I think probably one of the biggest aspects of maintaining that confidence is being able to be transparent with everybody. Trying to be, we try to give as much information as we can publicly about the services that we provide. Some of it is technically protected because it's secure information, but it is about making sure that we provide information to the community. We do public education as available, and then we also try to make sure that we answer questions as soon as they come out, and also manage misinformation. There's been times where people have said, our 911 services are down in Sumter County, and it's not. And that's just misinformation, and we want to make sure that we get ahead of that to educate folks as to what's really happening.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, I'm going to finish chatting with Stephen Kennedy, the Assistant Administrator for Sumter County, about emergency preparedness and how technology is transforming Sumter County.
Get all the Social Security disability benefits you deserve with disability consultant Jeff Bell. Our experienced Florida certified ADR handle claims on a contingency fee basis, meaning you don't pay unless we recover money for you. We have established a strong reputation as a firm that cares and provides the best care to its clients. Call us today or visit cbell.com.
Welcome back. I'm here with Stephen Kennedy, the Assistant Administrator for Sumter County. Question. Emergency management, I'm sure, has become really complex over the last several years, like most things in life. How are you guys maintaining that A-plus service?
So for our emergency management side, it's a constant. You know, a lot of times people think that you're responding to an incident, and in reality, from an emergency management perspective, your entire year is built around preparing for that. You know, you identify what your risks are, you prepare for those, you identify opportunities to mitigate those risks. So it's a continuous evolution to get there. I think probably the biggest piece that is becoming more exposed in terms of where we are working the hardest is trying to make sure that we're integrating and the way that we can communicate and the technology that we use to support folks. So, for example, we have scenarios now when we respond out to an incident, there's been some sort of impact in the community, whether it's a tropical event or something like that. We now have technology available where responders can actually do what we consider a dashboard survey, where they're just driving through the community, they can identify the areas quickly, they can actually take photos, they can live stream those into the emergency operations center. So it's really about the principles of emergency management have not changed substantially. It's more about identifying the tools that we can use to leverage it to become more efficient, not just for our response, but also to be able to try to get restoration back to the community as quickly as we can.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me actually into my next question. I'm sure with AI and all of the ways of the world these days, I'm sure that's making a change on how you guys respond and how you kind of handle situations. Is that correct?
So the use of AI is one of those things that it's a very difficult subject to navigate.
I could see that.
From the public safety and the governance of that environment is challenging because we have an obligation to, this isn't a situation where you can ask AI and just assume it's right. So
absolutely, you have to know.
you have to have a degree of confidence that that's there. So at the end, though, yes, we are exploring the use of AI. We have areas that we've implemented it already, but it's under very controlled perspectives and use. Just simply that so that we can monitor how it's doing, evaluate that, and then be able to provide feedback on to make sure that we can improve it.
Yeah, and I could see AI being used in a positive way for sure. You know, if there was a communication barrier, using AI for those type of things. Is that something you guys do?
So we use it in a couple ways, but one of the most recent releases and improvements that we've done is we actually have AI used in translation services now. So one of the big pieces is that when somebody calls 911, to be able to get them, sometimes if they're a foreign language speaker, and that's not even necessarily, you have to remember that this is the worst day for that person to call 911. So people who are, dual language, and bilingual, and then suddenly fall into crisis mode, oftentimes they revert back to their native language and
That's
that
interesting.
panic.
That's very interesting.
So it makes it tough, and trying to get them sometimes to calm down. We're trying to understand what's happening. The other times, though, is that sometimes people will say something and they're in an unsafe situation, and they don't get the opportunity to say it multiple times. So it's a lost opportunity. And to be able to get them connected with a translator has historically been, we would then make a third-party call, contact and language translation service, bring them into the conversation, and then have them start asking what's happening.
Oh, wow.
And so
that's a lot of delay in time.
A significant amount of time. And that could be, it could be a matter of 60 seconds, 2 minutes. I've seen it as high as 5 to 7 minutes. That's a long time for somebody to wait on 911 to have the first question asked of them. So being able to have translation from a text perspective to see at least that's translating into Spanish and here's the context of what's happening provides situational awareness for us that we would have missed out on. the really amazing part of that is that the next evolution of it, which I've already seen and I would anticipate will be coming soon, is the ability for us to actually communicate directly through that translation service through AI and not actually even have to bring a third-party caller on. That in itself will immediately resolve the substantial time delay and be a significant step forward. I mean,
Yeah, that could be huge.
yeah, it truly is. I mean, life-changing in the sense of emergency call services and 911.
I do feel like I personally handle high-stress situations well unless somebody's life is on the line, and then I'm out. I don't want to handle that. So how are you guys maintaining the clear communication and calm aspect that you need in your jobs?
Well, 30 plus years of doing this, I still will tell you that those moments of stress and anxiety still weigh in. It's not that they don't have an impact, but I do believe that we provide some of the best training available to folks. Our communication center, which is the Emergency Communication Center in Sumter County, handles fire, EMS services, as well as animal services directly. I can tell you that they're dual accredited for both emergency medical dispatch and emergency fire dispatch. There's a ton of training that goes into that. We have a lot of quality assurance. We do regular reviews with folks. So there's a constant push to make sure that we provide the right resources to our team that takes those calls. But it expands beyond that. What do we do for our field folks, our firefighters who are responding? And that's where the fire department, they have similar training programs in place. There is definitely a push for continual education. There's also a point where we recognize that these types of calls have an impact on our call takers and our responders, and trying to make sure that they have the resources that they need so they can manage those, because they are very stressful.
Absolutely, yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think a big part of that leadership piece is being able to recognize that we're human, that we can make mistakes, but to really try to just make sure that we provide the best opportunity for our team, learn from our mistakes, and continue to provide them the resources that they need to make their lives easier. Through technology, we do a lot of that. Things that could stress them out, we can pull that low-hanging fruit off of them and make it easier. When somebody doesn't know where they are and they're trying to get help, it's very stressful. Now we have modern technology that gives us their location within a matter of feet. It becomes far less stressful when we can say, well, I believe you're here. Is this near you? And we can pull up a map and we can see where they're. So I think that's the piece of it, is that by providing the tools and resources to help manage some of that stress, it helps substantially.
Yeah, I could definitely see that helping a lot, where you don't have to be like, oh, I don't even know where I am, but
Absolutely.
Somebody come help me. Do you feel like there is a personality that doesn't do well in your career, or is everything teachable? Could you be trained?
I think there's a great opportunity for education to take us most of the way. I do think that certain people are not cut out for certain jobs. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't be a 911 telecommunicator or a firefighter. It means that they have to be at the right state of their personal life to understand what that commitment is and to understand what that ask is. It is a very tough job mentally, no matter what it is in public safety, just because you're giving quite a bit, and
Yes.
It's very challenging at times to be able to accept that. But I think it's a big aspect of the ones who don't make it are the ones that will not accept feedback, will not accept input, and simply want to go their own way.
Yeah, you have to be teachable.
Those who are teachable, and that comes with a bit of being humble at times. But I think those who can take the opportunity to reflect on where they've been successful, where their challenges are, and commit to improvement, they'll be successful. And in terms of the skills, everything is teachable in terms of the skills. It's more about the personality and their acceptance of where they are.
And for somebody who wants to get into kind of what you have done and do now, what is your education background?
So mine's a little complicated.
Okay.
So I actually got started early. I came out of high school. I went into a local college to get my paramedic degree. And to be honest with you, most of what you need to get started can be done that path. We have folks that have gone through cadet programs in Sumter County where we've pulled people out of high school. You know, they've come directly to work for us. They've gone through their firefighting school, their EMT school, and have come on as full-time employees and been successful. But I do believe personally that knowledge, whether you continue to pursue it formally through school or other means, that personal growth is essential for what you're looking for. And so in my circumstance, I have a bachelor's in organizational management. I have a master's in public administration with a concentration in emergency management. I have a master's in
Oh, wow.
computer systems and software design, and I'm currently studying my doctorate at University of Miami in applied learning. So
Wow, look at you go.
I take it pretty seriously that I want to just continue to grow and learn. You've got one life, so
I love that.
focus on doing all you can while you're
Yeah,
here.
and I feel like in your career, you definitely need all of the knowledge. Well, we're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap things up with Stephen Kennedy and talk a little bit about the future of Sumter County.
Experience the calm and serenity of a new Lincoln today. With over 100 new Lincolns in stock, you're sure to find one you love and enjoy financing offers as low as 0%. Or take advantage of attractive offers totaling over $5,000 on our best-selling Corsair and Nautilus, the 25 Motor Trend SUV of the year. We also offer a huge selection of locally owned certified Lincolns with a 6-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Plaza Lincoln, across from the Leesburg Airport. Our drive to be the best starts with you.
And we're back with Stephen Kennedy. So you have been part of the police department and the fire department. What made the switch?
So it's a very comical story.
Okay.
But it's a little bit, also at the time, a little bit sad or whatever. But I would say that I started in fire and EMS. That was my path. And I had the opportunity to work at a tri-certified, meaning fire, EMS, and law agency out on the beach.
Oh, wow. I didn't know we had those.
Yep. So Daytona Beach Shores. I thought this is going to be a great opportunity. And I would drive out to Daytona, and I would work, and I had a great time, and I loved it. And they said, you should go through law enforcement, and then you could work here full-time. And I went, I don't know about that. And then somehow I said, you know what, that sounds great. I'm going to do that. And so I went through law enforcement training, and I thought it was going to be the best thing. And at the very end, as I graduated, I said, I can't make the commute to Daytona every day, because it was one thing when it was once a week, but doing it 4 days a week.
And you were still living in Lake County? Or
I was living in Claremont.
Okay, yeah. Oh.
4 days a week, and I was like, financially, how am I going to do that? And at the time, my daughter was, very young. I don't even think my daughter was born at this point. She was born in 2001, so this was right before she was born. And I said, there's just no way I can do it. So I applied to the city of Leesburg, and I came on as a police officer here. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely best group of folks I could have ever hoped to work with. And then I had a very dangerous encounter in 2001 that left me out of work for a little bit. And I said, this is really dangerous. And I kept working for like another year or two, but it kept coming back. And my daughter at that time was, very young, and I said, I need to probably move back to my roots and go back to where, work in fire full time. And it's probably a little bit safer, I just knew what the statistics were. And so I went back to fire and promptly got burned in a fire 6 months later.
Oh,
so
okay. So
it didn't really, my whole brainstorming of it was going to be
your
safer.
calculations were still a little off.
Did not pan out. So, but in the end, I would say that the beauty of it is that I hear all of the jokes from both sides. So, police officers always want to joke about what firefighters do.
Oh, yeah.
Firefighters always have a comeback. I just try to stay neutral.
Well, you are kind of, because you've done both. So
I do. But I do, at the end of the day, again, I think it adds value in the sense that I understand where both sides come from.
Yeah.
And I can understand to champion for them, but I can also understand to say, you're probably going at it from the wrong direction. Let me give you a different perspective. And a lot of times they'll hear me. They'll at least listen to me. They may not agree with me, but at least I have that opportunity to, sort of break the ice. So it's been a great experience. And I do think that those pieces along the way make us the whole that we are at the end. And so I'm grateful for those experiences as they came along through my life.
Yeah, and I could definitely see that has helped you get where you are today, knowing both sides.
I definitely feel so.
And what continues to inspire you after 3 decades in public service?
I would say that right now there's so much exciting opportunity for technology and when it comes to public safety. And I look at where we are today and I envision where we'll be in a year to 5 years. And where we were a year to 5 years ago in the past, the changes have been demonstrable. You know, I mentioned 911 calls. It wasn't very long ago that for somebody to dial 911 for us, we weren't guaranteed to know where they were. We could get the closest cell phone tower, and then it was a guess. That creates challenges, and when people are lost in the woods, it's like really tough to deal with that, right? And we're 540 square miles in Sumter County, so it's a lot of rural areas still and wilderness. And we've had incidents now with new technology where we can see the caller's location. We have radios that show us where the responders are, and we can literally navigate them turn by turn through the woods to find people that would have taken hours, if not a full day, to find them. And now we can narrow that down to just, take a right at the fork in the road. So it really is a completely different day, and that evolution is it's picking up speed almost exponentially. So I'm just excited to see where we go next.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you want the people and the residents of Sumter County to know what's going on behind the scenes, what you guys are doing for the future of Sumter County?
So I think a big part is, Sumter County is growing. And so from those challenges of, the additional people in the area, the additional growth into more rural communities in terms of building and having the resources to respond to that area, I think we're doing a lot to take technology and use it to identify where those resources need to go. We do things like closest unit response and really identify how to leverage technology to make us more efficient to get to those folks. And we're doing a lot to take advantage of systems as a whole, where a lot of times things are disparate and separate. We've done a really good job in Sumter County of consolidating services so that even though the municipalities are on their own and they support their residents, they've all participated in countywide services such as the public safety radio system, a consolidated animal services response for the county. Those types of partnerships really lead to greater service delivery so that we can manage the growth as efficiently as we can. So I'm excited for that to continue and to sort of set the stage for the next 5 to 10 years of where we're going.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, like you said, you're kind of consolidating, somebody who doesn't work in public safety or public service. Those are kind of things that I already thought were already in place. Like the county is like the main hub, and then you have these other branches. And so I kind of already thought that, the animal control was countywide, but I guess it's not. Typically it's not.
Many places it's not. Many
Okay.
places, even the radio systems, they might have different radio systems
Wow.
or different 911 equipment. So those are places that there's definitely benefit for that. A great example is we're working with our schools to help, provide radios to them. We provide radios for all of general county government now in Sumter County, and we're working on an expansion to bring additional school radios in. Those are things that, as far as we're concerned, they're public safety for us, because when there's a bad day and there needs to be a response to those campuses, we need to make sure that they have great communication services. So I think from a county perspective, that commitment and that partnership with literally just about any constitutional officer in Sumter County has been nothing but stellar. And to be honest with you, I'm a bit spoiled. I got into Sumter County, I got into my role in Sumter County coming out of the fire department. I don't know any different. So it really does surprise me when I go to neighboring communities and I see the struggles that occur throughout and the challenges, and I'm blessed to be where I'm at and to have the support of the commissioners that we do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. So we know a lot about you business-wise, professional-wise. What about you personally? What do you like to do in your free time?
I like to travel. So
Okay.
That's part of it.
Where to?
So mostly I have kids,
Okay.
and I have younger kids. So most of the time it's the Caribbean. A lot of cruises. Really easy to take kids on cruises.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
it's a lot of fun for that. But it does give us the opportunity to have excursions, check out destinations. So, probably going to look at some international travel in the next year or two. and see where we end up there. The other thing is I like to spend time with my kids. Like I said, I have a 7, 10, 11, and 24. 25. She just turned 25 a week and a half
Oh,
ago.
wow. You have a whole spread.
I do. I do. So I've had one married off so far. So,
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
but-
Girls or boys?
So my eldest is a girl. So she lives in Nashville and just married her high school sweetheart who's doing his doctorate in some sort of science that is way more complicated than I would understand.
Coming from a man who has like 4 masters. Must be.
So, and then I have my sons who are 10 and 11, and then my daughter, my youngest, who's 7.
Wow.
So
And do they go to Sumter County?
they do. All 3 of mine go on the south end of the county. They go to, one now, and one just graduated from elementary, so he'll start middle school next year with his brother, and then my daughter will stay in elementary school down there.
Very cool. Very cool. So very successful at home and professionally. I love that.
Yeah.
Anything else you want the people to know about your career or about you?
No, I just would say that, from a career perspective, I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had. And, like I said, I've had the opportunity to serve in a variety of communities, including, in Lake County
Yeah.
and Sumter County. So I find that it's, I'm blessed for that experience. And I just, I encourage folks that when they look at their first responders, just know that, it's a career for them, but it's a calling, and it can be tough. And so, I'm grateful for the folks that still serve. I miss being in the field. I miss the camaraderie of the fire station or shift work and, working in law enforcement. But I do feel that, I have an opportunity now to be able to represent the fields folks operationally, as well as, the citizens' perspective from making sure that we're fiscally sound in our decisions to support our folks.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the people who, are doing a little more hands-on in the field do appreciate somebody who has already been in the field and knows their day-to-day and now can transition into something like you do. Stephen Kennedy, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today. You have an amazing role in the community of Sumter County, and thank you for your service. And thank you for listening to our podcast. We'll see you next time, and thanks to our sponsors, Plaza Cadillac, Plaza Lincoln, Eustis Roofing, and Disability Consultants.